So anyways, continuing right along with that 2009 YFM700 I got out here. There was multiple problems with the electronic power steering on that as well, the EPS as Yamaha calls it. So I thought I'd do a quick video on how to pull the codes out of the dash, where all the components are, what goes wrong with them, etc., etc. And the Skidoo guys might find this helpful as well, because the Skidoos, the Apex and what do they call it, the RTX1 or something, Yamaha Skidoo with the R1 based engine in it, it also uses that EPS power steering. They flake out because they're I think they're a little too marginally made, and they just get overtaxed really quick, overburdened, and they just become overwhelmed and overheat, and so a lot of people have problems with them. You can drive the machine without it. You don't have to fix it at all, actually. You just have to make sure all the normal components in your steering's tight, but you can ride around with it, the power steering. So when it flakes out, you just forget about it if you want, or if you want to fix it, because it's kind of nice to have, right? Maybe you're elderly or young or whatever, and don't have the upper body strength, and so the EPS is nice. But anyways, you don't have to fix it. But here's a quick video about how to pull the codes and figure out what's wrong with it. And so there's a blue wire here. If you're trying to get the codes out of the EPS, there's a blue wire, and you disconnect it, and what you do is you ground it actually to there, to the control module. So there's three parts of this. There's the ECU, and that's connected to the control module for the electronic power steering, the EPS as they call it. I don't know why people are so obsessed with acronyms. It makes something confusing so much more confusing. But so there's the ECU, which controls it, which is down there, by the way. That's your ECU, your black box down right in there, and then right beside it, the silver finned unit, that's your control unit, which is another computer for the power steering module, which is underneath here. It's there's the end of it, and that's basically your motor. I've got a spare one here. That's your motor that turns your steering, and they are, by the way, a real piece of shit. They break all the time. They put them on Yamaha Skidoos as well, and then they just flake out. They got a vent here. See the vent, and that clogs up. That causes a problem. You can see the yellowing on the outside of this, the outside of the body. See, they get super hot. There's supposed to be a thermal, some kind of thermostat in there, so it senses if it gets too hot, then it shuts down, which may or may not always work. I don't know, but you can see this one's gotten smoking hot. The varnish on the outside has been cooking. It still worked. This came out of a machine. I tested everything. It worked. So when the guy brought me this machine, it may or may not have been the problem, so I dragged out a spare one just in case. But there's always the connectors too. You got to check the connectors, make sure they're making a good connection. And the motor fails. Oh, they're just, anyway, so if it fails, you don't have to fix it. You can just drive it, and then you won't have electronic power steering. That's all. It'll still steer fine. I mean, there's nothing saying you need to repair it, because that little module, by the way, is $2,200 US as of March 2023. 2,200 US, I think was the number on partzilla.com. So anyways, there's a finned unit, which is the control module for the power steering, then there's the ECU, and then there's also the motor. So those are the three major components. And so as it turns, the steering stem turns, and it's attached to the motor down there, and it senses the angle, and etc., etc. Anyway, so if you want to see what the hell's wrong with this one, some people, so the blue wire here is the one you ground out. So some people, first of all, can't find this wire. One end is blue and black, and the other end is blue, oddly enough. So those two plug into each other, even though they're not color coded the same, which is really odd for Yamaha. And what you do is you turn on the key and let it cycle through the little gauge functions there. Then within 5 seconds you touch it to the you touch that blue wire to the finned unit. And what will happen is that EPS unit will change. It'll start, so it won't stay on constantly. So I was a little slow on the tape there, so try that again. Turn it on, then you take the blue wire here, and within 5 seconds, you have 5 seconds to ground it to the finned unit. So just hold it there, and there you go. So it starts doing this flashy thing. And you should have a well-charged battery for this. I got the charger on it, so that's always good. 2-amp charger on the battery just to keep the voltage up, because these things are really voltage sensitive. So anyways, this thing's flashing. What you do is you take it off again, and then you put it back on. And so you'll see it'll change. The pattern will change. See, now it's changed. 1, 2, 3. So that's code 13. 1, 2, and then 1. That's code 21. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's code 55. So we have a 13, a 21, and a 55 error code. Right. So turn that off. That's the gist of it. It's kind of goofy. You gotta sit there and count, but you can do it without the fancy scanner. So with this said, the code 13 is the EPS torque sensor. No normal signals are received from the torque sensor, blah blah blah. And then you go down here, and then it's code 55. Also, I said battery voltage has increased. Abnormality exists between the EPS and the ECU. And then code 21's really common on these machines. The speed sensor shits the bed, and then it wreaks havoc, because it has to got a signal from the speed sensor to work properly. So there's code 13, 21, and 55. And that's kind of not surprising on this machine, because I've been working, I had it all ripped apart, and then the guy who had it before me had it all ripped apart, and he was working on it, and who knows? I mean, wires were unplugged when the key was on, and all kinds of shenanigans. Anyway, so that's the gist with that. That's all you have to do. It's just not very clear in the manual. Even the manual, it doesn't state which wire you put to the ground here, so that's kind of confusing. And that's all you do. You ground it, and then you find your signals. Now, with that said, these things are a real piece of crap, and you know, they fail all the time. And when they fail, you don't have to fix them. It's kind of nice to have it if that's why you bought the machine, but you don't have to repair them. They just, you could leave it in place and just drive without power steering, and it's not really a big deal. So just FYI, because these things are quite expensive. That little motor is $2,200 at the dealer, US, by the way. So kind of expensive. Anyways, that wraps up my quick diagnostic explanation of the YFM700. A lot of Yamahas are like that. That's one thing you should remember about these gauges is don't flip them upside down. They don't like that. I don't know why. And also, some of these old gauges, like on the XT250, for example, has similar type of gauge. And if you let the battery go low or you try to boost it, these gauges flake out, and they're kind of expensive. I think they're $200, $300, $400. I don't know what they are. But they're kind of spendy, and they'll flake out with low battery voltage, and they'll flake out if you put them upside down sometimes, and they're like the power steering. They're a real piece of crap. So be aware of that. Anyways, that's it. Signing out. Hope that helps somebody out there, and talk to you later.